Alright guys, and welcome back to the Saints View, the channel for Southampton content for a brand new video. Breaking news as you're watching this: Pierre Hojbjerg has officially left Southampton and joined Tottenham Hotspur, and WalkerPeters has gone the other way. He's left Tottenham and joined Southampton. Now, I am filming this before either deal have been confirmed, but if you're watching this now, both deals have been confirmed. WalkerPeters is a Saints player and Pierre Hojbjerg is no more at Southampton. Now, in this video, I'm going to give my final thoughts on Hojbjerg's Southampton career and why I think getting WalkerPeters in was a massive deal. But before we get into the video, guys, do make sure you've hit that subscribe button if you haven't yet already, with your notifications turned on. Plenty of content will be coming out over the next couple of weeks. I apologise for the lack of content over the last sort of 10 days or so. A lot's going on at the moment behind the scenes. I will discuss that at some point. Now's not really the time, but definitely apologise for that, and there will be content coming out, don't you worry. I had to take a little break, but we are back in business, as you might have seen on the social media pages as well if you're following us on there. And that takes me on to my next point. Follow us on our socials if you haven't yet already, on Instagram and Twitter. Regular posts on transfer news and all that sort of stuff, if you're not following us yet already, so make sure you do that. And yeah, let's get into the video. Then we're going to talk about Hojbjerg first. Now, he's spent 4 years at Southampton, signed in 2016 for £12 million from Bayern Munich. At that point, I think he was just in his 20s. He looked like a very promising midfielder, but I think no one had actually really heard of him in terms of Southampton fans, but had been picked by Pep Guardiola as a really promising young midfielder with a bright future. Didn't work out for him at Bayern. Of course, it doesn't for many young players. They're such a good team. And so a move away was necessary. He'd spent a couple of loan moves away in the Bundesliga at Augsburg and Schalke, and then made the permanent step to the Premier League and signed with Southampton. Now, at the time, Southampton were a very exciting proposition, I think. They just finished 6th in the Premier League, 7th and 8th the seasons before that. Albeit, yes, a new manager, no one knew what was going to happen, but their first proper Europa League season where they were starting off from the group stages, it was a very exciting move, and I think Hojbjerg would have thought. Now, I guess unfortunately for him, in a way, the club declined instead of progressed like it looked like it could have progressed further. You know, definitely should have gone further in the Europa League that year. Obviously, had the cup final, could have been in Europe again if we'd won that. Those sorts of things. And instead he was sort of dragged into 2 relegation battles. Now, the first one, he wasn't really that much of a feature in this side. He didn't play too much. I don't think Pellegrino fancied him that much. And in the first season, we didn't see much of him either. I remember him actually being played in the under-23s. I think it was under Pellegrino in his second year. And look, still a very young midfielder, but for the money we paid, you know, at this point, I think we thought probably could be a regular now. But something clicked in that third season when we had Mark Hughes come in, and obviously then Marif Hasenhüttl, because he was so solid in that midfield. You know, he scored a couple of goals at the start against Palace and Brighton of that season. We weren't playing well, we weren't getting great results at the beginning of the 2018-19 season, but he was putting in fantastic performances in the middle of the park for us. You know, he was winning everything. Obviously he had chipped in with a couple of goals, added that to his game. Assists as well. You know, he was going forward but also winning the ball back, like I said, a real box-to-box midfielder. And he was just electric that season. For me, Redmond won it, but for me, he was the player of the season last year. I think that the player of the season that year, I just feel like he was just everywhere. And Ralph helped him with his game as well. And we thought at that point, wow, 23, he's going to get even better. He was also given the captain's armband, which I think was a big statement. You know, he was always pushed out in interviews after heavy defeat because he spoke so well. I remember in the Brighton 2-2 when we coughed up a 2-0 lead, he was straight out of there, you know, to say it was absolutely unacceptable. And I think that's what got him the captain's armband after Davis left. But there was just something wrong this season. I think the possibility of a move on his mind, you know, when you're going into a season when you've even with 2 years left on your contract, which he did this time last year, I think you think a move is probably going to be on the cards next year. You know, this is probably going to be my last season as a Saint. He clearly didn't want to sign a contract. We saw it in that fans forum last August. You know, a fan instantly asked, when are you signing the contract? And Simmons pretty much answered it for him and said, you know, it'll be a discussion that we have later on. And that was basically an indicator early on, obviously prematurely, that, yeah, he's not going to be staying. And his performances were just nowhere near what they were the season before. I think for example, passing it a bit more sloppily or not winning that extra tackle. A lot of interceptions, don't get me wrong, he's one of the best in the league for that, for winning the ball back, but some of his distribution was awful. I think he'd taken the most shots with not scoring a goal in the entire league. His forward play just wasn't as good as it was the season before, and I think we struggled obviously at the beginning of the season, and then it turned around and he got better, as everyone did, but I think we still felt like, God, he was actually better the season before. you know, and the whole team was doing so much better. So that tells you everything, I think, about his season this year. Linked with the last minute move in January to Spurs didn't happen, but then from that point we knew he was going to go. And it was always going to be between Tottenham and Everton, I think. And then we saw it in March, some of the statements that he made over the lockdown period weren't professional, definitely from a captain as well, from that perspective. And, some of his habits on social media, liking certain posts, linking him to moves away, it just wasn't right. And I definitely think he could have handled the situation a lot better. His agent certainly could have handled the situation a lot better. And in the end, we're losing a player. We're losing our captain, but I think we lost him mentally. I think really we've lost him over the last couple of months. He played against Norwich, but after that didn't play it again. Really didn't start a game. Had a few minutes here and there, I think, didn't he? But Prowsey got that captain's armband and he deserves it. And like I said, I think we've known that this move was coming for a long, long time. It never looked like he was going to sign a new contract. At the start, it looked like it was actually going to go to Everton. They tabled a bid that was, suitable, and Spurs had to pull their finger out and pay a bit more. It now looks like it's around £20 million, including the add-ons, about that, which I think for a player of his quality at times that's got a year left on his contract, I think that's a fair price. I think anything below that would have been probably underpaying in terms of Spurs' side of things. We could have gotten more. I do think maybe 25 thereabouts, but definitely not the 35 million that was originally quoted a couple months ago. He was nowhere near that in terms of value. So I think Saints, to be fair, have gotten a decent deal, especially when you think that Kyle Walker-Peters is coming the other way. He's not involved in the deal directly, but it kind of feels like it's almost like a swap deal. And we'll talk about Walker-Peters in a bit. But final thoughts on Hojbjerg. Of course, there'll always be fans who boo him when he comes back to St Mary's as a Spurs player, but I don't think that's fair. He's been a good servant. The way he's ended his Southampton career, I think he'll look back on that and probably think it could have gone a bit better. I'll definitely think that. I think it could have been a bit more of a smoother process, a bit more of a respectful one from his side of things as well. But overall, I think he's been a good player for us. And obviously, I wish him all the best. I just feel like, having made the statement that he wants to go and win titles and he wants to go win trophies, he's just not going to do that at Spurs. But look, it's a bigger club and hopefully it's a good move for him. He gets European football next year. I can't help but feel like if he'd waited another year, signed another contract, Saints might have been in a similar position to Spurs in a couple of years, and that's generally how I feel about it. But look, good luck to him. I'm not going to be booing him. I think he's been a good servant. He's not been one of those players like Van Dijk who's forced to move out, who's handed in a transfer request. Yeah, it's a difficult one because he could have handled it better, but overall, I wish him the best. But now let's talk about Kyle Walker-Peters, because this is the side of the deal that I'm very happy about. I'm very excited about. I think Walker-Peters, since he's walked through the door, has been excellent. He's absolutely transformed the right-hand side of our play. It was a bit of a shaky start, I think, at the beginning, in the sense that he got dragged into a really difficult game against Burnley, a physical side that we don't tend to do well against anyway, losing that 1-2-1, and then I think he had a little bit of a niggle injury and didn't play again for us until after the lockdown. And I remember saying, I'd rather Valerie play just because Walker-Peters isn't going to be here next season. We didn't add an obligation to buy in the loan deal, and I kind of felt like, why is he here? He's only here as a backup. But that was that was naive on my part, because Valerie played some really awful stuff in the first two games in the restart. Awful against Norwich, awful against Arsenal, and so Walker-Peters had to come in, and he came in against Watford and was absolutely magnificent. Like I said, transformed that right-hand side, looked solid, participated in offensive play. He was everywhere, and I think the deal reminds me of the deal we had for Bertrand. It's pretty similar, at a bigger club, not getting the game time, initial loan move, and then decides to make the permanent move. And I honestly can see him being on first choice right back for the next 5 years, like Bertrand's been. I think he'll be a Saints player for a while, unless he becomes exceptionally good and a big club snaps him up. But I think he's 24, so he's got plenty of football left to play in him, and I think he's magnificent. Now, I'm saying that based off of, 7 starts. So, of course, we could see the player that Spurs fans are talking about, which is he's overrated. He's not as good as we think he is, which is obviously possible. Mourinho doesn't rate him. That's why he's making a move away from Spurs. But I think it helps that we've actually seen him in a Saints shirt and in this system. He suits the system. He's up and down the flank. He's a modern fullback. He knows what he needs to do in Ralph's system. And I think we made a really good move to get him back in on a permanent deal, as opposed to going for someone new, someone else from Europe, like for example Sifuk, however you pronounce it. That is Groningen right back. I think we've done much better in terms of getting someone who actually knows how to play with Southampton now, and I think he could be a really good buy for us. £12 million is the quoted figure. I think in today's market that's not a bad price. There's obviously going to be some sort of inflation, but he wanted to move away. It seems he was never going to get the football he wanted at Spurs. Came to Saints on loan, impressed thoroughly during this restart period, and he's deserved his move. To be honest, I didn't see it coming when he came in through the door on a loan deal. I didn't think he was going to sign as a permanent player. I think he was just a short-term option, to be honest. I kind of felt like, okay, we can't get a right back in permanently, so we're just going to get whoever we can get on loan. But maybe it was a case of that. Maybe the board didn't think we were going to sign him permanently. Who knows? But overall, it's one of those where he's impressed. I think he's exceeded every Saints fan and everyone at the club's opinion of him and rating of him. I think there was a relatively low expectation when WalkerPeters stepped through that door. Yeah, he's been absolutely superb. Great move from us. We needed a right back, so that's a big tick in the box. Just need Salisu to be announced now and to get a midfielder in. And that's what I want to wrap up this video on. Now, we need to find a replacement for Hojbjerg. There will be videos coming out when we discuss who that could be. We've already talked about Weston McKennie. Doesn't look like he could be coming to Saints anymore. I think Berlin are leading the race for him, so we'll have to see what happens with that one. Harrison Reed, of course, he could be a name that comes into this Southampton starting 11. I think it'd be a risk. It'd be a big gamble, but it's a possibility. And Romeu as well. So it's whether we sort of promote from within almost, or we go out and buy a new midfielder. But it now has to be the priority. We've got our centre back. We've got our right back. We need a Hojbjerg replacement. I don't think it's going to be Reed or Romeu. So we'll see what happens with that. But that will come in a couple of weeks. So, but yeah, I'm absolutely delighted that WalkerPeters has come through. I think we got a good deal with Hojbjerg, and I wish him all the best. Yeah, busy. It's been a busy couple of weeks. But thank you so much for watching the video, guys. Let me know your thoughts on the whole Hojbjerg-WalkerPeters saga down below. Do you think Hojbjerg could have acted better? How do you reflect on his 4 years at Southampton? And with WalkerPeters, do you think it was right that we decided to get him in as opposed to another option at right back? And do you think £12 million is a good price? Let me know in the comment section below. But if you have enjoyed the video, leave it a like. Make sure you've hit that subscribe button. Follow us on all of our socials. And we'll see you very soon for another video. Coming to Saints anymore. I think Berlin are leading the race for him, so we'll have to see what happens with that one. Harrison Reed, of course, he could be a name that comes into this Southampton starting 11. I think it'd be a risk, it'd be a big gamble, but it's a possibility. And Romeu as well, so it's whether we sort of promote from within almost, or we go out and buy a new midfielder. But it now has to be the priority. We've got our centre back, we've got our right back. We need a Hojbjerg replacement. I don't think it's going to be Reed or Romeu. So we'll see what happens with that. But that will come in a couple of weeks. So let's keep our eyes peeled. But yeah, I'm absolutely delighted that WalkerPeters has come through. I think we got a good deal with Hojbjerg, and I wish him all the best. And yeah, busy. It's been a busy couple of weeks. But thank you so much for watching the video, guys. Let me know your thoughts on the whole Hojbjerg-WalkerPeters saga down below. Do you think Hojbjerg could have acted better? How do you reflect on his 4 years at Southampton as opposed to, and with WalkerPeters, do you think it was right that we decided to get him in as opposed to another option at right back? And do you think £12 million is a good price? Let me know in the comment section below. But if you have enjoyed the video, leave it a like. Make sure you've hit that subscribe button. Follow us on all of our socials. And we'll see you very soon for another video.